Hey bro, do you remember you owe me 500 rupees?
Yes bro, but I am running low on cash. Do you mind if I pay you through online mode?
Yes bro, it's fine. You can pay me through any of the online modes. I have e-wallets linked to my bank accounts.
That's cool, but I don't have an active internet pack. Let me use the free Wi-Fi network to pay you. Done. George, kindly check your bank account balance.
Sure John, I will check it on the way to college. Let's go.
Hello everyone, I guess you didn't notice me yet. Can you please tell me what exactly happened over here just a few minutes back? Yeah, you may take your time. No, it wasn't a simple normal transaction. It involved something which you were not able to notice. So did you notice that they were using a public Wi-Fi network? And any data traveling through a public Wi-Fi network is highly insecure because the data travels in a simple plain text format and anyone having any sophisticated device can read those data through that network. So let's assume that I am a hacker who is accessing the same public Wi-Fi network which John had used just now for carrying out the online transaction. I could make use of a tool called Wireshark to tap out all the critical information which John shares with the public Wi-Fi network. It could be sensitive information such as CVV numbers, bank account details, even UPI pins, etc. I will be able to see them all in plain text. This is what happens if you use a public Wi-Fi domain network. We'll learn more about these and many other attacks and how to safeguard your systems from such attacks in the upcoming sections of the video. So stay tuned. Well, we can see that John is understandably upset. The reason is he just now got a message that rupees 5,000 has been debited from his account. Well, why did it happen? And how did it happen? Now we come to know the reason behind him being upset. The attacker must have got his credentials and carried out this fraudulent transaction. We'll learn more about such activities in the upcoming sessions, so stay tuned. So far we have seen one such scenario where the attacker illegally withdraws some amount from the victim's bank account. Well, it's sad. In real life, it is not that simple to carry out such an attack. It used to happen before, but not now. It requires highly sophisticated tools and sound technical knowledge to carry out such attacks in practice. Mind you, all these activities are illegal, and the attacker might end up behind the bars. There's a very thin line between the various types of hackers. I am an ethical hacker. I never hack illegally. You will come to know more about me and various other types of hackers in the coming sections. I will also introduce you to the world of cybersecurity, how various attacks happen, what are the various types of attacks, and how to prevent our systems against any such attack. Towards the end, I will explain the various laws governing the cyberspace and the repercussions of carrying out any illegal cyber activity. I will also list few areas where you could end up 8 to 10 years from now if you opt for the cybersecurity field as a career. So what are we waiting for? Let's start the journey. So you all might be wondering how exactly this attack happened. So let's have a look at this very first section of ours, how it happens. Basically, any attack may happen on a network, whether it is having any password protection or not. To keep it simple, let's have a look at the networks which are not having any password encryption or any password protection. So let's have a look at this scenario when there are no passwords protecting the data or protecting the network. In such case, what happens is, if I am using a network which is not protected by any password, whatever data I am sharing with the network, data as in whatever communication I am having through that network, will be intercepted by any attacker with the help of sophisticated tools, for example Wireshark. Similarly, if my network has some sort of protection in the form of a password, but if it is weak, that can be easily broken down by any attacker or any hacker with the help of freely available tools or with the help of brute force techniques or simply guessing the password. So if the network has no passwords or weak passwords, it is really easy for the attacker to break into such a network. The similar kind of a scenario we saw earlier with the help of the Wi-Fi public network. Similarly, the next concept which comes into picture is encryption. Encryption is a process by which we change the meaning of the plain text entirely. For example, if I am sending a hello and it is received as ABCPQ, so it doesn't have any meaning, right? So encryption is the process by which we actually change the meaning of the message so that even if the attacker gets hold of any such message by eavesdropping the network, he or she won't be able to make out what exactly the message means. That can be done with the help of sophisticated algorithms, for example AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, and RSA. There are many more algorithms, these are the most popular ones. So if your network is not encrypted, anyone can attack your network with the help of the tools we discussed previously. But if your network is encrypted or it is protected with these algorithms, it is very difficult for the attacker to break into your network and eavesdrop the communication. Clear? So this is how the attack happened. Now let's focus on the various cyber attacks which keep on happening on a day-to-day basis. Right now, while I'm talking to you, someone around the world might be planning to launch an attack on any active target. So there are n number of attacks happening every day. So let's have a look what are those attacks exactly. To sum up, a cyber attack is nothing but a synchronized attack either on a single target or on multiple targets with the use of a single computer or multiple computers with the sole intention of leaking data, confidential information, for example bank account details, CVV numbers, currency information, etc. For example Swiss bank details. Leaking out those information is also considered to be a cyber attack. Let's have a look at the various recent attacks that have taken place. You might have heard about the recent WannaCry ransomware attack. Ransomware is nothing but a malicious software which, when installed on your computer system, encrypts each and every file present on your system with a key which is not known to you. As we have already seen what is encryption, encryption basically requires a key using which we encrypt our files or data. But in case if anyhow a ransomware is downloaded and activated on your machine, it will automatically encrypt each and every file present on your machine within seconds and you won't even notice it. But that very next time when you log into your machine, it will simply pop up a message that all your files have been encrypted, and to get your data back you would require a key using which you can then decrypt your data. The attackers ask for a huge amount of money in exchange of that key. But even then it is not 100% sure that the attackers will provide you the actual key using which you can decrypt your data. So it's a win-win situation for the attackers. They will get hold of your data and the money, of course, which they ask in terms of bitcoins. Why bitcoins? Because using bitcoins you won't be able to trace the destination address of the attacker. Clear? So they are very smart. The second attack is Nigerian phishing scams or Coca-Cola lotteries. They are combined together. Suppose one fine morning you open your email box and see that you have won so and so amount of money, suppose $1 million from a company called Coca-Cola. You all know what Coca-Cola is, right? So let's assume that you have received a message from Coca-Cola that you have won $1 million in a lottery. And to get it transferred into your account, you need to pay $10 as a transaction fee. So just imagine that you have won $1 million and you need to pay just $10 to get it back into your account as a transaction fee. You would be tempted, right? This is what happened. This is the case study I am discussing. Nigerian phishing scams. Why it's called Nigerian phishing scams? Because all the hackers belong to Nigeria. Basically, they forged the website. They created a phishing website. Phishing is nothing but creating a fake website which looks exactly similar to the original website. So they created phishing websites, they created phishing emails and sent to n number of people. They had thought of a very good plan. They would send very attractive emails to the recipients stating that you have won so and so huge amount, and to get it back into your email, into your bank account, you need to pay so and so money. So 80% of the people fell in for this particular trap and they paid $10 each. What exactly happened? None of the money was transferred into the accounts of the people who had sent $10 each, and as a result, the attackers sitting behind the computers in Nigeria, somewhere in a very remote place, used to get $10 after each 10 seconds, 15 seconds, because they had sent it to a huge number of people all around the world. This is why the attackers are very safe, because they are not identified very easily. They are sitting somewhere in the world because of the proliferation of the internet, they can attack any PC, any computer system present in any nook and corner of the world just by using its IP address. So this is why the attacks in the recent times have become very prominent because of the proliferation of internet. Similarly, we have discussed about the various attacks. What about the security aspect? How to secure the data? How to secure the networks? Let's see this particular section, which is called as cyber security. Cyber security can be defined as the practice of providing security mechanisms to the various devices connected to the internet. It can be a computer system, it can be a mobile phone, it can be a laptop, it can be a PDA, or even a printer connected to the internet. As we all know, with the advent of the internet, it has become really easy for any person sitting at any corner of the world to type in how to hack a computer. It's really that simple. If you type in this into the Google console, into the Google search box, you will get n number of results of how to hack a computer system. So there is always a race between the hacker and the security people. Cyber security is nothing but it is just the techniques by which we provide security to these devices connected to the internet. It can be broadly categorized into these four aspects. Firstly, we can have a look at infrastructure security. Infrastructure security is nothing but the mechanisms by which we provide security to the physical infrastructure services. For example, electricity grid, water purification, traffic lights. Just imagine if the traffic lights are being tampered by any attacker. He or she can keep the green light on every single time. So what happens? It will simply create a chaos. The cars will keep on colliding with each other because there will be a havoc created. So this also can be considered as a nuisance or just for fun. So as I had explained earlier also in the video, don't do hacking just for the sake of fun. Otherwise, you will simply end up behind the bars. You will end up having free food and free water for at least 5 years in jail. Okay, so this is how we provide, this is how we categorize in security in terms of infrastructure. Similarly, we have security in terms of network. We can provide extra bit of security by having some extra login passwords, some passwords which keep on changing every single time. The best example is a OTP, one-time password, which has a fixed amount of time, and beyond that time, the password will automatically reset. Similarly, we may have some anti-spyware software inside your network. So similarly, we can also have a look at the various application aspects of security. If I'm having a computer system installed on my home network, I would be making use of these applications, which are nothing but antiviruses, software firewalls, and encryption programs. Similarly, when we are dealing with providing security to a cloud, we are considering cloud security. It's nothing but a software-based security tool that protects and monitors the data coming in and going out of your cloud resources, so that we may be in a better position to identify who is the actual user and who may be an intruder. So now we are done with the actual root cause of how exactly attacks happen, what are the various kinds of attacks, and how we can provide security to the networks or to single standalone computers. Let's talk about the various types of hackers. This is the most interesting part, because right now I can guarantee that many of you were waiting for this particular section only, types of hackers. The term hacking itself is very intriguing and people are attracted to this. So let's have a look. What are the various types of hackers? Let's focus on each one of them one by one in detail. White hat hackers. A white hat hacker is a person who is an ethical hacker. I am an ethical hacker. I am a white hat hacker. I never do any kind of hacking activities illegally. I take proper permission from the organization in return that they want my services. Then only I proceed with hacking into the system. An ethical hacker or a white hat hacker never intends to harm the system. A white hat hacker performs hacking or performs penetration testing only to test the vulnerabilities present inside a system. This is what we expect from you people. Become white hat, become ethical, don't become black hats. Okay, so ethical hacking has a very good scope in the market, because if you want to protect a system, you need to hack it. Otherwise, you won't be able to identify the various vulnerabilities present inside the system. That is what gave rise to this particular career aspect or career prospect, which is white hat hacking. Similarly, black hats. These are the illegal people. These are the people who perform illegal activities. Black hats are also called as crackers, who hack into the system to gain unauthorized access and harm the operations of a regular website, to steal its information, or any kind of organizational website, organizational system, to steal critical vital information. Basically, you have seen many of the government organizations' website getting defamed by foreign hackers. This is what the black hat hackers actually do. They can either do it for fun, or for fame, or for money. Similarly, the next type of hackers are the grey hat hackers. What is grey? Grey is basically a color in between black and white. Same thing happens over here. Grey hat hackers are a blend of both black and white hackers. They act without malicious intent. Obviously, their intent is not malicious, their intent is not harmful. But what they do may have some repercussions, may have some consequences, which might be malicious. For example, they might do something for fun without even taking into consideration the output, the outcome. So as a result, grey hat hackers are having proper knowledge, but they might not have the maturity to perform any particular action. Clear? The last type of hackers are miscellaneous hackers or other hackers. Red hat. A red hat hacker is a blend of, again, both black hat and white hat, similar to grey hat. They basically are involved with hacking government agencies, top secret information hubs, and generally anything that falls under the category of sensitive information. Let's talk about blue hat. These are the people who test the application for finding out any bugs or any vulnerabilities present in the system. So let's now focus upon the remaining part, the elite hackers. The elite hackers are nothing but the people who are having the social status of the pro hackers. These are the people who are having the most knowledge, the most skilled hackers. Let's talk about script kiddies. I know many of you who are watching this video are script kiddies. Script kiddie is such a person who is not having a very sound technical knowledge. He or she will make use of the already available tools in the market and use it for fun, without knowing the objective, without knowing any outcome, without knowing any consequence. So such a person is called as a script kiddie. Neophytes. Neophytes are those people who are noobs. In your language, a noob is a person who is a newbie, who is not having any single knowledge of what exactly he or she is doing. So such a person who is new to hacking without any prior knowledge or experience is termed as a neophyte. Last type of hackers are the hacktivists. These are the people who utilize the technology to attack any website or any organization to spread some message. It may be either antisocial, it may be religiously motivated, it may be politically motivated, or it may even include defacing a particular organization. Clear? So these are the various kinds of hackers. So now let's see what are the various laws that governs cyber security. The cyber law or the Indian IT law is the law which governs all the activities concerned with cyber world. For example, any fraud, any copyright, any defacement, harassment, social trades or contracts, these all fall under the Indian IT law or the Indian IT Act. So let's see in detail what exactly is a fraud or a cyber fraud. Cyber fraud is basically an online fraud. For example, you're buying something from an online retail store. Its price mentioned over there is 1000 rupees, but when you receive it, you find that the MRP is only 200 rupees. So you have been duped of rupees 800. This is what a cyber fraud in its simple term means. Okay, so if you are a victim of such a fraud, you can file a case against the merchant and even the e-retail company with the help of Indian IT Act or Indian IT laws. Similarly, copyright. If you have created your own content, for example, I am creating this content and I am going to post it on YouTube. If any third party, if any person copies the entire same content as it is, or fetches some of the sections of my video and puts it into his or her video, that is a copyright infringement. That is what happens when you copy somebody else's content, someone else's data and pose it as your own data. This is also called as plagiarism. So to safeguard your data against such an attack, Indian IT laws comes into picture. Let's talk about defamation. Defamation is nothing but you are making some statements in public against a person, against an individual or against an organization without having any proper evidence or without even thinking about the reputation of the organization unlawfully. This is what we call as defamation. Correct? So the person on the other hand may file a case against you, a defamation suit, which may cost in lakhs or in crores depending upon the organization and the severity of that defamation. To avoid such defamations, the person on the receiving end can make use of the Indian IT law. Next is harassment. Harassment is nothing but it is similar to defamation. It is like making some statements or harassing the individual in public. Similarly, if you are stalking a person continuously, you are troubling that person by sending unnecessary messages over and over again. These sort of activities are called as harassment and stalking. Similarly, what are trade secrets? For example, Google has its own search engine, right? Google makes use of image searching. It also has its own artificial intelligence system, the Google Brain project. For example, if one fine day another organization copies the entire Google Brain project and commercially sells it without Google's permission, this is what gives rise to a trade secret breach. Such activities can be challenged with the help of the IT laws. Similarly, contracts. Every time you click a button that says you agree to the terms and conditions and laws and blah blah blah, you have used a cyber law. There are terms and conditions for every website that are somehow related to privacy concerns. So you can say that cyber law has its applications in terms of digital contracts as well. So these are few of the sections of the Indian IT law we have discussed here so far. Let's just conclude with the career scope aspect. These are the major areas where a cyber security analyst or a cyber security person can fit into. For example, we'll start with this security specialist. A security specialist is a very basic entry level role with a huge potential of development, a huge potential of updating your skills. Similarly, the incident responder is nothing but a person who prevents and protects against any threat. Next role you can fit into is a security admin. The security admin has all the responsibilities of keeping the security systems running smoothly throughout the day. Next up is a cryptographer. A cryptographer is nothing but a person who continuously challenges the attackers by writing codes which they can't break. Clear? Next up, we are having a security analyst. A security analyst is a person who plans and executes flawless security measures. Similarly, an auditor. A security auditor is a person who finds a weak link or a weak spot in your security system before it becomes public or before any other criminal finds it. Next up is a forensic expert. A forensic expert is a person who protects the cyber world and assists the law enforcement. These are those people who look into the aspects of acquiring the evidences from the crime spot or the crime zone so that they can be analyzed even better in a sandbox kind of an environment. Similarly, next up we have a penetration tester. The most common one, these are those people who willingly hack into the computer system or the organization to find the mistakes present in the organizational behavior so that they patch it up and make the system good so that they can't be attacked in the future. So that's it for this particular career opportunities or career scope aspect. Hi friends, coming to an end. I hope you liked the video. If you enjoyed it, you can check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. I will leave the link somewhere in the comment section, the description box, or on top of the video. Do check it. Leave your suggestions, your comments, your feedback.
And if possible, do subscribe to my channel. It will definitely boost me up to come up with new videos every single time. Thank you so much. God bless you.